Hey, how are we doing, guys? Gray here, and today is playoffs time, semi-finals against Jesse. Let's go ahead and get straight into this. You can see the team matchup on the screen. We've got the Iron TREADS, Iron Bundle, as always the Iron Core, Gallade, Skeledirge, Abomasnow, and Glamora. He's brought Chienpow, Glamora, Garchomp, Dondozo, Screentail, and Flamigo. So Glamora versus Glamora matchup, but it's going to be a really tough game. Looking at this matchup, I think TREADS looks incredible as a late game sweeper. We are Iron Defense, Body Press, Ice Spinner, and Iron Head. So realistically, we just need Dondozo gone because that completely hardballs us. Garchomp needs to be weakened just because Ice Spinner, I believe, doesn't take it out unless it is an offensive set. I don't remember the calc exactly, but I think we need a bit of chip. Iron Bundle revenges pretty much everything on his team as long as they're not Choice Scarf. Glamora and Flamigo, like the only two potential Scarfers I believe on his team, because I don't think Garchomp will be. Gallade, Choice Band just breaks everything. There's not a resist really on this team to Leaf Blade. Flamigo, I'm sure you can kind of count as one, but it still probably takes like 50% because this mon is absolutely ridiculous. And if we're able to get rid of Screentail, then it's honestly just the freest Sacred Sword of our lives. Skeledirge pretty much just is here to be able to check the Flamigo because I had a strong feeling it was going to come. I think there was something else that it checked as well that didn't come, but it also does a pretty good job. If I'm able to Terastallize, it checks Glamora pretty well. It can somewhat check the Chienpow, and it also 1v1s Dondozo with this set. We are Sub Willow Hex, and Slack Off obviously the last move, so we're able to beat a specially defensive one, not specially defensive, physically defensive one 1v1. Then we've got the Abomasnow. This is my switch into Chienpow. If it's not banded, it's the best I can do. Yeah, I think the Abomasnow is also pretty good in this matchup. It hits a lot of his team for super effective damage. And then Glamora is Assault Vest. It's my best attempt to deal with his own Glamora, because actually Glamora does a lot to this team. If I'm unable to get the booster energy off, or if it is Choice Scarf and outspeeds my entire team, Power Gem is pretty free and could be problematic. So looking at his team, I expect him banded, maybe boots on the Chienpow. I think banded is more likely because it just does so much damage. Scarf or Assault Vest Glamora, mainly just to Scarf will outspeed everything and be a problem for me. The AV set would deal with my own Glamora. It deals fairly well with Abomasnow, but special, it deals really well with the Skeledirge. So, and I think it probably takes one Hydro Pump as well from Iron Bundle. So it could be AV. I do think that's a pretty good set against us. Garchomp could be banded, it could be mixed, it could be Hazard Stack. Honestly, Garchomp has so many sets it could run. But I do think that Hazard Stack with a mixed set is probably going to be most likely, like Earthquake, Fire Blast. Dondozo, probably physically defensive to be able to take on my physical mons, especially Gallade, because he doesn't have a great switch into it, barring Dondozo, and I guess physically defensive Screentail is decent, but even then. And then Screentail itself, I think, is just going to be especially defensive ball with Wish Pass. And then it's going to be Scarf Flamigo. I think Scarf is the only real set that does work in this game. So that's going to be what I think the matchup is going to look like. As for a game plan, I think getting Gallade in early as often as possible to break the Screentail and a Dondozo certainly helps my late game win condition of potentially even Bundle being able to clean up if we get rid of a Scarfer. Or Iron TREADS is the most likely win con, I think, if we're able to get rid of Dondozo, if we're able to get rid of Glamora as well. It leaves him with just physical attackers and also a Screentail that realistically probably won't be able to touch me. So getting our positioning correct is going to be vital here. Revenging with Bundle is going to be massive. I think it pretty much revenges everything on his team barring the Screentail. Even then, Screentail doesn't necessarily like switching into it, but it's his best switch in. It's the one thing I can't revenge, but I do have plenty to revenge it with. And then I'm just going to use Skeledirge and Abomasnow to switch into his physically offensive threats. I'm going to use Glamora to switch into his special offensive threats, and just try and chip away at them, and again, just aiming for that Iron TREADS endgame. So with that in mind, I'm going to lead off with my Bundle. It matches up so well against a lot of things on his team. If we see the Screentail, we can just click Flip Turn and switch out into either the Skeledirge or the Glamora. But we're actually going to see the Flamigo lead, which is pretty annoying for me, because like I say, I'm sure this is going to be Choice Scarf, so you know, we're going to have to switch out. But we do have a good switch in Skeledirge. If this turns out to be banded, then obviously that situation is less than ideal. We don't have amazing switch-ins to a close combat. Since we got the Skeledirge, we might as well try and use it as a pivot switch out into it, and it takes it fairly well. We know that's now Choice Scarf. It's 100% like Jolly Choice Scarf, so this could potentially later on in the game be setup fodder for our Iron Treads. Just got to keep that in mind. Might want to keep that Flamigo alive just so we have that option. In comes the Garchomp on our slack off. Do still have a pretty decent switch in to this Garchomp in Iron Bundle. I see this as something of a mid-ground. If it's Fire Blast, it is going to hurt, and we actually see the Flamethrower, which is even better. It doesn't look like it's even that especially offensive, and this immediately gives us the momentum because we're able to click Freeze Dry very freely against his team, as he is going to withdraw and go out into the Scream Tail. And this Freeze Dry, it kind of just bounces off of him. It really doesn't do any damage at all. That actually like max for death, if I had to guess. Yeah, we did 0 with that. But this does mean we can flip turn and see what he wants to go for. If he stays in, we go into Glamora, we go into Skeledirge. If he switches, we play accordingly. Perhaps expecting me to switch out, he actually switches himself and goes out into the Dondozo, which is it's fantastic for us. We get to scout whether or not this thing is leftovers. I kind of expect it. It could be Resto Chesto, but we're going to get a bundle out of there. And because this mon has come in, and I know full well that it cannot do enough to Gallade, this is just, it's breaking time. We just start clicking Leaf Blade. We do see the leftovers on the Dondozo, but that's certainly not going to save it from this Leaf Blade. If we crit, we just do, I think we might even one-shot, but we're going to get this off, and that's just ridiculous damage. That looks to be pretty defensive. I don't think it's max defense, but it's certainly more on the physically defensive side, and that's just absurd damage. He goes for the Protect. So lefties Protect. I assume now at this point that it's going to be Curse, Body Press, and Liquidation, just because the rest wouldn't make sense in my opinion. But we have no reason to not click Leaf Blade. We're going to click it again, and he is going to switch out. I kind of expected the Flamigo to come in, but Flamigo taking this much damage just opens up Treads even more for that end game. But no, it's actually going to be the Scream Tail, and we do get a crit. I don't think that crit mattered too much, just because it looks like even without, it was possibly still even a 2-hit KO. But I don't want to take a Dazzling Gleam. I am still out of range of Glamora, unless it's like Specs Dazzling Gleam. So I just want to preserve this health as much as I can. Like, Gallade needs to stay somewhat healthy just to be able to deal damage to the things that it still needs to. It's not going to be able to beat the Flamigo, it's not going to be able to beat the Chienpao, but if I can get it in on a free switch against the Glamora, then it can start doing some work again. And we are going to see a Dazzling Gleam on our Glamora switch. It does basically nothing, and yeah, we get to now just click Sludge Wave. It's actually very free against this team. He doesn't have a Steel type. So if Glamora comes in, his own Glamora, we will be able to take a Earth Power from this range because of our Assault Vest and Earth Power back. But he's just going to go for the Side Shock as we click Sludge Wave. And it's going to do a decent amount of damage. We're still above half, so I'm pretty happy to preserve this Glamora for later on. But now we've heavily crippled his Dondozo, and we've also got rid of his Scream Tail, so endgame is starting to look even better, especially for Bundle. Bundle's looking great now. We can get rid of that Flamigo. In comes the Chienpao, and we have our dedicated switch into this. Unless it is choice banded, even with Terra Dark, it should not be able to 2-hit KO us. So we are going to see him Terra, and he clicks the Throat Chop, and this is going to do far more than I'd like. It does 104. What this turns out to be is Black Glasses, and that is the absolute max roll to my Abomasnow. This makes me believe that maybe he's banded, and at this point I've got to pick a sack. In the end, I decide that it's going to be Glamora that's going to get sacked off. It still has some use in this game, but there is a Garchomp, there is a Scarf Flamigo, there's this Chienpao. Realistically, the only thing it kind of deals with, like not even that well at this point, is the Glamora. So I think the Toxic Spike is going to be much more helpful for us going on, because if we can prevent the Glamora from coming in, then we can keep that Toxic Spike up and be able to get a bit of Poison Chip damage on things, hopefully the Garchomp, hopefully this Chienpao as well, and it will certainly open up the endgame again. Since I don't want the Glamora coming back in, I actually go out into my bundle, and I think that Hydro Pump will just knock this out from memory, depending if he has any bulk investment. But we want to try and force this out whilst also not bringing the Glamora in, and we are going to successfully do so. We're going to get Chien Pao's gone, doesn't want to take that damage, and in comes the Dondozo, which is going to take that Toxic Spike. It's also going to have to take this Hydro Pump, which is not going to appreciate too much. Unfortunately, after the leftovers and the poison damage, I'm not entirely sure whether or not Hydro Pump knocks this out. It is a roll, and I don't want to take a body press if I can help it. So I'm going to click the Freeze Dry. He's going to click Protect, I guess, to scout if the not choice locked bundle, because I showed Flip Turn earlier, whether this is actually choiced, I don't know. He protects for reasons, and now he actually is in range of the Hydro Pump, so I'm going to go ahead and click it. Hopefully we don't miss, because we don't want to take that damage. Fortunately we don't, and we are going to take out the Dondozo. Iron Treads endgame is now unlocked. However, we still need to decide what we want to set up our Iron Treads on. Realistically, it cannot be the Chien Pao, it does too much damage with Sacred Sword, and it can't be the Glamora because Earth Power will just straight up knock me out. We see the Flamigo come back in, and again, at this point, I kind of got to pick a sack, but I somewhat expect a U-turn just because the Skeletor switch is so obvious. I partially wanted to just stay in and, you know, put the dick on the table and just go, yeah, I'm staying in on this, but I decided in the end that even if he clicks Close Combat, just click U-turn even, a Bomber Snow doesn't really give him anything. So I'm going to go into a Bomber Snow. It forces him to attack because none of his mons want to take a hit for a Bomber Snow, and that gives me a free switch in to whatever I want depending on what comes in. He does U-turn and goes out into his Glamora. We're just going to attack. Like I say, at this point a Bomber Snow is completely expendable, it's not checking anything, and we don't want this Glamora to get creative and start setting up or anything like that, so we're just going to attack what's in front of us. We don't want to lose to this Glamora at this point in the game. Unless this is Specs, Dazzling Gleam won't knock me out, so even if it's like Expert Belt, I think actually Life Orb might knock me out. I think it's a roll to knock me out from here on my Gallade. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to click Sacred Sword, hope that he stays in because he really doesn't want to switch anything into this. And he does. He clicks a Dazzling Gleam and we live on 12. This Sacred Sword is just going to destroy this Glamora. And he does set out the Toxic Spikes. That just doesn't matter. We have 2 mons of Heavy Duty Boots and we have a Poison, a Steel type even, left in the back. And with Glamora going down, that also really means that my Iron Treads, if it's able to set up on that Flamigo, probably just wins. But we do still need to get that little bit of chip. Just that little bit of chip on the Garchomp. Flamigo comes in, it's pretty free to click Close Combat here, I don't have any counterplay to that. So yeah, he's going to click the Close Combat, take out my Gallade. Flamigo picking up all the kills in this game. But it's still not time for Treads, it's almost time for Treads. Flamigo, we do need to come in, it does need to be in when the Treads sets up. But we just got to play to that positioning, and then going into Skeledirge here, we are able to click Will-O-Wisp. He has 3 physical attackers left, so it's completely free, and hopefully this will give us the damage we so desperately need on the Garchomp. We do land the Willow, we get the burn, however, it's actually Lumberry. I was kind of surprised when I saw a special attack earlier and then saw the Lumberry now. It does make sense to be able to switch into Skeledirge without being too concerned about the burn. And in hindsight, maybe I should have just clicked Hex here, but in fact there was a couple of plays that I could have made. I could have clicked Hex, I could have gone into Bundle, because that would have lived the hit and been able to threaten this out with a Freeze Dry and maybe claim the kill. But I didn't want to take too much damage on Bundle. I decided the best play is just to click the Willow, as you see, and the burn might make him believe that this Garchomp is now expendable. If I bring in Bundle on the next turn, then I am able to click Freeze Dry, and hopefully he'll just sack off the Garchomp, go into Flamigo, and that will give our Iron Treads the chance to set up. The burn does technically mean we can click Iron Defense in front of this, but we don't want to take that Flamethrower damage, so it is just better to go into Bundle. I think that is like a much more high chance of being able to endgame with Treads. In comes the Bundler. It's time to click Freeze Dry. Kind of wish I had Ice Beam because it would have just killed everything on this team at this point, but Freeze Dry will still do the job against Garchomp. It has a chance to freeze against Chien Pao, and we don't know whether or not it has Sucker Punch. It hasn't shown it yet. so we might be able to just 2-hit KO Chi Pow, but he does just sack off the Garchomp. One of the win conditions is now ticked off. We just need him to go into Flamigo and not Chi Pow here. And he does in fact go into the Flamigo. We're more than happy with this. Our end game has been the same from like as soon as Dondozo went down. It was positioning to get this Iron Treads in, and at this point we can just sack off the bundle, go into our Iron Treads and click Iron Defense. Close combat will not 2-hit KO us, and barring a crit we should be in a really good spot. It does take our bundle down with the close combat, and with a -1 if I was offensive, then I think Ice Spinner probably had a very good chance of being able to knock out the Flamigo. So that's why he probably didn't want to potentially stay in, or my thought was that he potentially wouldn't want to stay in. We get the booster energy. I don't expect him to want to stay in, but I think if he's going to win this game, he needs to stay in close combat, predict the Ice Spinner, go out to Chi Pow, click Sucker Punch to then bring me in range of another close combat. But at the same time, if he doesn't expect the Iron Defense set, then I don't think he's going to do that. And he doesn't. He switches out his Flamigo, goes into the Chi Pow, so we get a free Iron Defense off, and at this point we're looking really good. Barring any crits, we should be able to win this game. Just going to kick Body Press. If he has Sucker Punch, it would potentially put us into a KO range of the close combat, but at that point it doesn't really matter because it's going to drop to 2 Ice Spinners. Obviously the Chi Pow just falls over from that Body Press. That was never even in doubt. It does so much damage to it, and Flamigo comes in. Like I say, this game just comes down to whether or not he gets a crit. Go for Ice Spinner. We do way over half. Definitely a 2-hit KO. Goes for the close combat and doesn't crit. We are able to click Ice Spinner again and pick up the win and move on to finals. One last game to defend our crown in the BBR. We're almost there. We've almost done it. We got lucky in the quarterfinals. I think we just played this one really well in the semi-finals. I think we positioned our win con extremely well. Breaking with Gallade early was exactly what I needed to do. Defensively was a bit of a bit questionable, but the max roll on Abomasnow changed the dynamic of how I was going to deal with it. So that didn't help. That certainly didn't help at all. And then it just meant that I had to like use my defensive pieces as sacks more so than to actually defend against anything, and believe that offensively Bundle, Treads, Gallade was going to be able to do enough to win that game for me, and it did. So yeah, good game to Jesse. We move on to finals, where we will be playing somebody who I will not name in this video because because you might not have seen the other game. In fact, this probably goes up before their one would. I don't know. Make sure to check out finals. It's going to be an absolute banger. And yeah, like, subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and so you don't miss out on that finals game. Comment question of the day: what is your favourite steel type? I absolutely love Iron Treads. I think it is such a fantastic mon. There's loads of great steel types, but honestly Iron Treads has just kind of won me over with this BBR season, so I'm going to go with that for now. I don't think of anything off the top of my head that's better, but yeah, let me know what your favourite steel type is down below, and until next one, have a great day guys.